April, my guest today on the Contrology Circle podcast is April Shprintz. So, April, thank you so much for joining me first and foremost today. And for our guests that don't know you, which is what's crazy, but everybody knows you. Can you please give me a brief background into your start into mindset mastery, shall we say?
Absolutely. Gosh, I think even as a kid, I was doing things with mindset before I knew about it. But in the professional world, I was in the military and then in the corporate environment. And it was there that I started reading different things about mindset and really thinking that that could be something that I could help other people with. And it wasn't until I studied it and really understood how impactful our mindset can be on our entire life that I realized I had been unknowingly applying so many different principles of it my entire life. And at that point, I got more intentional about it. And it had just a tremendous impact on my personal life and my career, my health. So I immediately wanted to share what I had learned with other people.
That's right, yes. And your transition, shall we say, what was one of the first things that you really noticed? You're like, whoa, I might actually be onto something incredibly powerful that I can share with the world.
Well, the first thing I really noticed, Dale, was that I had a terrible mindset. It was really shitty.
Mhm. Really?
Yes.
I can't see that for you because I've only known you as like
100%.
fantastic and so magnetic.
It seemed like I had a good mindset to a lot of people
Mhm.
because I was very bubbly and I was outgoing and I was a positive thinker. But one of the things that I did, and I'm making this term up, is I disasterized. So no
Yep.
matter what the situation was, I was like, what is the worst possible thing that can happen? And then how do I prepare for that? And am I going to be okay? And what I didn't realize was you get more of what you focus on. Whether you believe in
Yes.
mindset from a neuro-linguistic standpoint, the neuroscience of your brain, or you believe in it from the law of attraction standpoint, which very similar things, different ways of getting there, you're actually making it more likely that things are hard for you. So that was the first really big thing I learned. And I was like, wait a minute. So if my life is okay doing it this way, and I can just become intentional and actually focus on more of what I want, then what can I do? And that was when the wheels blew off in the best way.
Yes. And how have you taken what you have learned and started to apply it? Where were those small steps? Say, even in your first person, where yes, you see it in your own life, but then how did it translate to sharing that with others?
Sure. So the first thing I started doing was focusing more on what I wanted, right? Not what I
Yes.
didn't want. So ignoring the things I didn't want, putting a lot of focus on what I did want, and realizing that our imagination is more powerful than what we know. So if we keep
Yes.
practicing the things that we want in our mind, we will then see them out in the world and have more opportunities and create them. And I'm one of those really annoying people that when I learn something new, I tell everyone I care about. So
You
it just
share with
started
them. Yes.
small. Yeah, it started everyone I talked to, they'd be like, "Oh, how did you do this?" And I'd say, "Oh, let me tell you." And so I was doing it probably for about 10 to 15 years before I even like took it out into the world. And someone was like, you should really do a podcast on this whole mindset thing. And I said, well, what do you mean? And they're like, well, everybody says, have a growth mindset, have a positive mindset, but nobody says how.
How?
And yeah, it was actually a wonderful woman who does my body work, a massage therapist and physical therapist. And she was like, I wish somebody would say how. And so I thought, okay, I can do that. I've got real into the how. I can share this with other people.
It's for sure. For sure. And what was the first one that you did do? Do you remember your first podcast?
I think my first one was probably why does it matter? What's the difference? And it really boils down to the fact that two people can be born into the exact same set of circumstances. Like 100% their life is exactly the same. And if one person has a growth mindset or a winning mindset, the way I like to talk about it, that one that works for them versus the person who just has a mindset that all of this is terrible and it's all happening to me, the person with the mindset that works for them is going to have a totally different life.
Yes.
And that is the only thing you need. And in my own personal story, I grew up with incredibly humble means in a single family, alcohol abuse, all of these odds are stacked against you kind of thing. But the
Hmm.
mindset part of it, and someone really mentoring me very early on to work on seeing things as happening for me instead of to me
Yes,
made all the difference in the world. I feel like I had every advantage in the world because of that. Yet, if you were to look at my story and the circumstances I was born into, you'd say, really? That doesn't seem like it was that great of a setting for you to do any of this. But the setting doesn't matter because you're not your circumstances. Your mindset
that's
helps you
it.
become possibilities.
And that's one of the first things I think we had our conversation about is your upbringing and the similarities and how that doesn't define you.
No, not at all. But although I will
Right.
say it helps me connect with a lot of people and
Sure.
help more people because I think a lot of folks assume that if you have had a certain level of success or a certain level of happiness or what have you, then maybe there's something special about you or you have something they don't have. And
Yes.
that's just not true. Anybody can have it as long as they're willing to put in a little effort to getting their mindset to work for them.
That's it. And where does somebody start? What is the most minimal thing that somebody could do? Minimal. It doesn't even have to be
Smallest
difficult.
thing you could do if you're like, I don't even know if I believe this, is when you first thing in the morning, when you wake up in the morning, just spend the first 3 minutes thinking of all the things you appreciate in your life. And they can
Mm,
be little or they could be big. They don't have to be a huge thing. They could be the person beside you in bed. They could be the kind of sheets that you have and how they feel. They could be the way the sun is hitting your face, or, oh, I'm excited, I'm going to see someone that I really care about today. Just that little change in how
mm.
you start your day can start a lot of momentum, and it trains your unconscious mind to show you things that you do want. Because remember, we're processing over 2 million pieces of data a second, which obviously we can't pay attention to. Heck, I can't pay
Right.
attention to three, right? And it's
Yes.
our unconscious mind that decides what filters up to our conscious mind, and it decides based on what we focus on the most because that's what's important. So you could almost think of your brain like the Instagram algorithm. If you click on a bunch of things about a subject you're mad about, Instagram's going to be like, "Oh, this is important," and show you all sorts of garbage for days. Your
Yes.
unconscious mind works very similarly.
Yes, absolutely it does, right? We have seen that in full practice for sure. But similar to our work, my work focuses on Joseph Pilates and contrology, the history of it, but more the lifestyle of it.
Mhm.
So there is so much. He was very much into animal magnetism, shall we say, confirmed, but also mindset and how you show up in the studio. Like there was homework that was given, that was expected, that you came in with that intention of coming in, doing the work, even on the days that you didn't feel like that. And I know you coming into the room for Pilates, I don't see that. You are always like, let's go, 100% in. And as you know, that affects the space in which we all share.
Sure.
So even with that, when somebody is moving through life, do you have the attitude of leave that at the door and come in and present yourself or be in that moment, in that present moment, to just shut off all the distractions and focus on the task at hand? Or is it something that you can manage the mindset of how do you differentiate between the two? How do you bring it in or how do you leave it aside?
I think for me, it's so integrated. It's a part of who I am. But
Yes, it
I
is.
also think that what you see from me in Pilates is because Pilates is one of my happy places. So even if I'm having a tough time, I'm so glad to be there and be in that moment. That said, there have been days when like I've had a tough day or I'm not doing as well, and I'm just grateful to be there because vulnerability, I think, is something that people don't always think of when they think of mindset. But
For
I'm
sure.
not talking toxic positivity. I'm not saying pretend that you're happy if you're not happy. I'm saying focus on the things you want. And it just so happens, especially your classes, Dale, that those are one of the things that I want more of in my life.
Thank you. Oh, I love having you there. You know that. Every time I come in, I'm like, yay. I'm so happy to see your name on the list, always. And you always give 100%.
Thank you.
And that is important. But you're also there to learn.
Oh
So
yeah.
That's another part of the work. Do you come in and embrace a space, or how do you have people interact? Because we're dealing with a lot of different personalities,
Hmm.
and there is the vulnerability of people coming into the space and trying to be there and to learn at the same time. It's also incredibly intimidating for a lot of people, too. And I feel anytime that you ask a question, people are like, oh, yeah, well, good, April's here because they know that you'll ask A, the hard questions in life and in Pilates. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't think there are any dumb questions, and Pilates
No.
has been really good for me and really good for my mindset because I wasn't a great beginner. I was that person, and I don't know how you are about this, but like if I wasn't really good at it right from the start, I didn't want to do it. That didn't
Yes.
feel fun to me, right? I wasn't really good at Pilates right from the start, so it helped me learn. I thought I was good, but it's because I was doing everything wrong. And so the thing that I love about
That's right.
Pilates is the better you get at the work, the more difficult it gets, but in a good way. You're like, oh, I just learned this. So even though it's been years, I am learning more and more in every class, but that helps remind me in life because again, I'm still not a good beginner, right? If
Yes.
I don't have it exactly right, it doesn't matter because it's more about showing up every day and becoming a better version of you.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. And even unbeknownst to you, and that is not your focus when you come in, you inspire so many other people, like just across the line. You're Reformer One, I'm just saying. So that's your place. And not by like, oh, I'm walking in and I'm Reformer One. It's not that. You walk in, you find your place. But even from the setup, you have such a positive outlook on life. And that people can't help but be inspired by that. So even when you find, say, in your own practice, in your own business, you find there's going to be those people that can be difficult and are met with resistance. What are the challenges with that? How do you navigate that successfully?
I honestly think difficult people are a gift. And I think they're a
Love
gift
them. Yes.
because they either teach me something or they remind me why I'm glad I own my own business. Because either I'm going to learn something great from them and we're going to have a great time working together, or I'm going to be able to choose not to interact with them, whether they are someone who provides a service to me or they're a potential client, because we're not a fit. And when I was in corporate, I had to say yes to everybody. And since
Yes.
starting my own company 10 years ago, that's one of the best things about it. I only get to work with awesome people. So
And
if
do you
I
want
can,
to tell us a little? That's right. That's right.
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your business.
So I help people from entrepreneurs to companies just find a way to make more money while they're working less and just have more fun doing it. And I explain it really simply now because as I've been doing it, that's really the basic thing that we do. Look, how do we get you doing more of what you love, less of what you don't love? And let you make plenty of money while you're having fun. Because I really think that's the purpose. If you'd asked me in my 20s, what is success? I would say making millions of dollars. And if you're someone who that's your big goal and then you get there, but you haven't found out how to be happy, it's super disappointing.
For
So
sure, for sure.
work
Yeah.
easier to be happy with what you're doing and then have the money come to you. Because if you get the money first, and in many ways that happened to me, and it was one of the worst days of my life to realize I'd hit this
Mm.
huge financial goal and that it didn't feel like what I thought it would. And so, what do I do now? So,
Yes,
I think in my business, I prioritize people really enjoying the work that they're doing as much as the money that they make. Because in the end of all of the things that we're doing, them actually being happy ends up being more important than the money.
absolutely. And it'll naturally come to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can speak very well to the law of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
And can you please just discuss a little bit of how that is in your life and your business? And are the two separate, or do they coincide with each other in that space?
I feel like everything's related. One of the things that surprised me the most in my business, because I started working with companies and they'd be having all these problems and they'd say, how are we going to fix the company? And what I found is it was almost always a personal issue with the leadership. And if I could find
Hmm.
what it was personally that was blocking them, all the business things would kind of start to resolve themselves. And it's a
Sure.
little bit of the law of attraction, even though at the time I didn't know what was even happening, right? I had heard of the law of attraction, but I didn't realize that whatever we have going on with ourselves personally, we will draw in more of it in our business. So
Yes.
let's say personally we have internally a lot of chaos. Well, then our business is going to be very chaotic and the money's going to be up
Yes.
and down and things like that. So the law of attraction works in so many different ways. And I think the biggest misnomer about it is that, oh, the law of attraction is just woo woo and let's manifest things that we want. Oh, no, no. You can manifest things you don't want too. It's
For
actually
sure.
really good proof of how it works either way. And so
It'll
people
get,
will be
it'll get you.
like, I can't do the law of attraction. All I manifest is things I don't want. And I'll be like, okay, then you're actually really good at it. So now all we have to do is change your
That's
focus.
leave it to you to focus and to come up with that spin on it. That's amazing.
You already know how to do it. You're just pedaling backwards. So now we
That's
just get you to
amazing.
pedal forward.
That's right. That's right. And how do you inspire or motivate people that say they are feeling stuck
Mhm.
or that it's hard when you're in that situation, isn't it? To
Yeah.
take a step back and because it's too close almost. So how do you navigate that? How do you inspire somebody that is stuck?
One of the things I notice is we can inspire people to a point, but it always comes internally from them. And
Yes.
most folks, while we all love to be carrot motivated, most of us are stick motivated. So we get into a certain amount of pain and we're like, this is way more painful than changing. I want to change. You see this on weight loss journey, or if someone goes and has their knee replaced, it's because their knee is in a lot of pain, right? So
Right.
what I find is people actually find inspiration in their life. I'm going to show
Mm.
you it's possible, but the inspiration actually has to come from them because
Yes.
they're the one who's going to do the hard things. And when people are stuck, I usually ask them just a few questions about their life, and they are usually stuck because of a limiting belief that they have that usually was picked up before the age of 6 that they
Wow.
think means whatever thing I want is not possible for me, or whatever thing I don't want, I can't let go of. And it isn't
Interesting.
true, but because they've thought it in their head so many times and they've never said it out loud to someone else, no one has contradicted it in years.
Mm. Wow, that's powerful and true.
But it helps.
So
It
true.
helps so
Yes.
much. Yeah.
On your podcast, you did a great, I guess it was a great exercise. Was it 100? Write 100 sentences for people
Oh,
that feel stuck. Oh, would you mind sharing that?
no, not at all. So this is wonderful. This isn't my exercise. This is actually an exercise
Okay,
I came across. I would love to give credit to the person who came up with it, but it was a psychologist and then a bunch of psychologists used it, so I don't know where
sure.
it originated. But when somebody's stuck, they tell you to start writing 100 sentences and just, sit down and do it in a comfortable place and start writing I am. I am, I am, I am. And what's so interesting is the first 10 are going to end up being like the roles that you've taken on. I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a
Mhm.
business owner, I'm a friend, I'm a this, I'm a that. But by the time you start getting to 20, 30, 40, you're going to start saying things that are a lot more real. And they might be things that you've never said out loud, but that you feel all the time.
Yeah.
And you really start to drop those roles and you start to say the things that you never say. And what I find so interesting is as people do this exercise, they will find things that repeat. And it's going to be either something that they want or something they want to get rid of. And it will literally show you this was such a great segue, Dale. Thank you. It will literally
Okay.
show you the thing that has you stuck because there's a limiting belief keeping you either not getting that thing that you want or getting that thing that you want. And I think some of the folks have done it where it's the most powerful is a woman was like, oh my God, I wrote I want a divorce 9 times. And not that a divorce is like an
Whew.
ideal thing, but she didn't even know
No.
she wanted one. And I
Yes.
had a gentleman who wrote, I don't want to be in corporate. And he was a COO. I mean, he seemed like he was doing great, but that's what was limiting him is he believed, okay, I'm so successful. I've done so well. I can't now pivot and do something else. And that's never the case. It's not that
Sure.
we can't do it. It's that we just have to figure out the way that you can do it that works with the life you have, or let's modify the life you have so that it works.
That's it. That's it. And you stole one of my questions. It was, give me an example of somebody that you've seen transform their life completely from where they were here to where they can be or where they wanted to be.
Oh gosh,
And what
so
does that look
many.
like? I know you
So
do.
many. So, one of my favorites was a gentleman who hired me very early on to scale his business, and he was several million dollars in revenue a year. And he was like, I want to be $1 billion company. And it was at a time when it was really popular to say that $1 billion company, it's like a unicorn thing. It was really cool or whatever. And the more I was working with him in his business and got to know him, he offered a really cool service. And but he also had two young girls who he loved to spend lots of time with. And they were, I think at the time, maybe 6 and 4. And he went to their school programs, he did all these things. And I said to him, I said, look, I don't think you're clear on what you want. I think you're saying what you think you're supposed to want. So let's talk about
Interesting.
what would be interesting. He was like, well, I have to have a ton of money. He was like, that's very important. I was like, well, you already kind of have a ton of money. Let's do this. Write down for me every single thing you want to do in the world, and so we can decide how much money you need every year, right? If you could do absolutely everything, let's just do
Fantastic.
it. And I love doing this exercise with people, Dale, because people's dream lifestyle is so much more affordable than they realize it is. Everybody thinks
April, so true. Yes,
this,
yes,
right? Everybody
yes,
thinks I need millions and millions of dollars. Um,
yes.
I'm going to just go ahead and put this out here because it's important for people in the lesson. They did this in a study with thousands of people. And on average, no matter how fancy you want your lifestyle to be, nobody can spend more than $400,000 a year on it, right? And I'm not
Challenge
saying that,
accepted. No.
I know, right? And I'm not saying that like that's not a lot of money, but this is when people are like, I
Sure.
want to fly private and I want a second home and I want a
Yes,
this and a that because there's
yes.
so many ways to do it. So he did that, realized that he didn't need the $1 billion. And I said, look, what I think you'd like to do is make a few million a year and work 20 hours a week. And
Hmm.
he's really where I came up with that formula for my company. He was only my second client, and that's what we did. So we scaled his business in a way where he made more profit in 2 months than he'd made in the entire year before. And his business became so much more fun. He hated to sell, but then he got to the point where he loved to sell his service. And he was just having such a good time doing it that all of a sudden, someone came in and wanted to buy the majority of his business for I think 10 million at
Wow.
the time. And but then still retain him at the same amount he was making every year for 10 hours a week.
Wow.
So
And
like the moment you identify what it is that you want, it
sure.
becomes possible because you're not blocking it anymore.
And I think that's part of it too, the identification of what it is that you truly want. And there's so many people that they don't have no idea the direction,
Hmm.
right? And then it's about getting them just a little bit more streamlined and focused. And then they kind of just take off from there. Is that the case in
In
your
a
experience?
yes, in a lot of ways. And I think something that people don't realize is how often what they think they want is what they've been told to want for so long. And they've been told it in such unnoticeable ways, they think it's their desire too. When if they
Right.
really took time with it, it isn't what they want to do.
Interesting. It's what they've been told, their society
Hmm.
has kind of enforced or,
Rewarded or it's
yes,
just what's done. And I think these younger generations are doing a better job than probably many of the generations before and saying, "Hey, that doesn't work for me. I want to do this." And
right.
I don't think that you ever get too old to ask the question, "Hey, does this still work for me? Is this still who I want to be?"
That's right. That's right. And I think it is generational as well, is it not? I mean, there people of a certain generation had tremendous responsibilities and life imposed upon them.
Hmm.
And they kind of just went into it and filled those roles as the traditional should be and what was imposed upon them by their families and society. And then we're left with a generation that has still so much potential that we need to see out there in the world as well. And they need to find you and be like, let's go, right?
Well, and they can do it for themselves. They just it's the
Sure.
whole idea of everyone's asked, "Well, why do you want to do that?" And
Mm.
I always think, "Well, why not?"
Absolutely. You are wonderful about yes, yes. and I know we've spoken about this before, the fear factor,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Do you still experience fear? And every, when you go about doing things, and a very it's a very evident component to so many people and their decision making processes and moving forward into life. How do you adjust that for yourself?
Mhm.
And I'm sure it's much easier to see in other people, is it not?
Oh, always,
Yeah,
always, right?
yeah,
We're always
fear
the worst
driven.
mind to ourselves, no matter how
Yes.
enlightened we think we are. And
Uh-huh.
for much of my life, people have called me fearless, which makes me laugh so hard because I'm one of the most fearful people I think I've ever met. I just do everything scared. I just made the decision very early. Okay, I'm going to be scared all the time, so I'm just going to do it anyway. And I
Just
think
going on.
that's the difference, right? Everybody has fear. Fear never stops. It never gets easier. You just get comfortable doing it scared. And the other folks that are suffering are the ones
Hmm.
who let fear stop them. And I remember a really neat moment in my military career when I was doing broadcasting. We had different stars who came over for the USO tour. One of them was Jennifer Lopez. And I was so excited to just get to ask her this question because I was a new news anchor. I still got super nervous every time I got on the air. And I said, "Hey, when did you stop getting nervous?" Right? Like, how long did you need to perform and be a professional so that you stopped getting nervous? And I
Sure.
love what she said to me. She said, "Oh, I hope I never do. When I get nervous before I go out on stage, and I'm nervous before this performance, it's because of how much I care. And if I
That's
wasn't
powerful.
scared, then I wouldn't feel like I cared about the experience I was giving to everyone."
That's
So
powerful.
when people feel fear, I tell them, fear and excitement feel very similar in your body.
Yes.
So, what if you decided that that is excitement for the fact that you're gonna make this happen? You're gonna nail it. You're gonna do it. It's gonna be scary, but it's pre-excitement for the fact that you are able to do it, even though you're afraid.
That's fantastic. And I mean, if there's somebody to comment, and it would be her.
Right?
Come on, she's spectacular. But that's really interesting. So you still do it anyway, regardless.
Yeah.
And you see it, you are able to identify it. I had the experience of being out with you at dinner. I hope you don't mind if I share
Oh,
this.
please.
And there was somebody else that was with us. And it was interesting because you didn't interpret without, first of all, kindness, absolute kindness, but you took a step back and you were like, hey, but what if you thought about it this way? And I was like, oh, well, okay, Miss April, let go, let's go. And it was 100. I was like, what? And then you could just feel there was this like energy and just this, honestly, it was just like a gift that just like, whoom, like she came into the room around the table, and she was really uplifted. The person that we were with was really uplifted by what you had to say. And you were able to navigate what was being said, more importantly, what was not being said. And you really, it was just beautiful to see you interpret something and be able to help somebody in that moment and in that situation think about something differently, and the why nots of living a full, boundless life of potential. Like that was so powerful. I was like, what? April, you should do this for a living.
I think it becomes very powerful. One of the things I talk about on the podcast a lot, or just if you're ever around me, is a reframe. Because a lot of times,
Yes,
and you know what, you modeled, so you know, there is so much about the way that the photographer looks at the image, right? And maybe it doesn't look right like this, but when you just turn it a little sideways and you take a look, there's something
yes,
beautiful. Okay, life is
yes.
like that. So if it doesn't feel good, maybe we just change the way we're looking at it. And I reframe things so much for myself in the world as it happens that I can see it with other people really quickly just because I do it a
Yes.
lot. But that happens for anyone. So anyone who starts reframing things, how can I look at this as happening for me instead of happening to me?
To me, yes,
When you
yes.
practice that, it's so powerful. And I tell folks, start with something that happened 2 or more years ago that seemed like a
Okay.
bad thing. Has to be 2 years back because you don't want it to be too emotionally charged. But let's say something that you thought was terrible 2 years or further. I bet you're able to see now how that led to something
Mm,
else that you would not change having, even if you could not have the hard thing. That's a reframe. That's understanding how it happened for you instead of to you. And so the trick is once you realize how many times it's happened in the past, well, why don't you go ahead and calm yourself down about it in the present? Okay, at some point, this is going to have happened for me. I don't know how, but I'm just going to assume it will and just see what happens.
and that's great. I mean, that was exactly it. You've reframed the entire situation and the conversation that she was having with herself.
Mm-hmm. Oh, those
And
are the ones. Those are the ones that shape our
woo,
entire world. The ones we have for
yes,
ourselves, we rarely say out loud, so no one can say, I think you're being tough on yourself.
yes.
I think much more is possible for you.
Well, and this is, again, we were just talking about this the other day. So I know that you're one of the few people that if I came to, I could say April. And again, solicit, unsolicited, we don't want, but solicited. And say, what is happening with this situation? And can you give me your take on it or just your experience? And there's so much there. You have such a wealth of knowledge to really push people to their absolute best, but not by pushing them forcefully, but by making them acknowledge and seeing that there is something much greater for everybody's potential that they have and things that they thought they weren't capable of. You have, I've seen it. I've seen it in play. So I can honestly attest to this. And then how do you go about doing that? And when you come up against people that you're met with resistance, how do you navigate those difficult conversations?
So, two things. One, I find that it is so much more powerful. I think in learning it's called the Socratic method, but to ask people questions and lead them to
Mm,
their own answer. Because if I tell you, then you have to decide how much you believe me, right?
for
How
sure,
much
for sure.
of a relationship do we have? How much do we trust each other? How much do you believe me? But if I ask you questions that will likely lead you to the same answer I was going to tell you, well, that's true because all your thoughts in your mind are true. Now, that can work
Yes,
against folks, right? Because sometimes the things that they're thinking are inaccurate and they're holding them back. But in this case, it can help somebody get to a place where they really understand, oh, this is what will help me. When somebody has a ton of resistance, this took me a lot of time to learn. I
mm,
can't want it more than they do. So I can give them the information. It's kind of like a bird. I just let it fly. I don't hold on to
sure.
it. I think about it this way. There have been times in my life where I've made some really awesome radical changes, not when the first person told me about it, not when the second person told me about it, but maybe it's the third or fourth time it was brought to my attention, whether it was by
Mm.
people, the universe, God, whatever you believe. And so a lot of times, if something doesn't resonate with someone, I'm like, oh, I'm just the first or second person. They'll get it eventually.
That's a wonderful way, again, reframing and looking at it that way too, right? Because we all, it comes to us when we are ready for it, I think,
Mhm.
as well,
Yeah.
right? And what every day, you're so wonderful, and I can go on this forever about that, but
Me too.
every day, what is your non-negotiables? Like you get up other than coffee. What is one of your non-negotiables that you are just like, nope, this is what's happening, or several, several. You
Several.
can give us
Okay.
several.
So I have a few. One is gratitude. I have got to think about what I am grateful about. And I like the word appreciation even more than gratitude because
Yes,
sometimes people have been told that they're supposed to be grateful. So it makes them feel a certain way. But what I appreciate. So focusing on what I'm happy about because I feel like the things you notice, you get more of. The second
yes.
thing, and it might sound like so lame, but first thing I do in the morning before coffee, before anything else, is I go out and walk outside. because one, we live in a beautiful place, but two, I
Yes.
feel like it puts my head in the right place if my phone
Yes.
isn't the first thing I interact with, right? Let me interact with nature. Let me interact with some random dogs, things like that, right?
Yes.
So that makes sure that no matter what else happens, I have moved my body. Now,
You
most
move
days
it.
I also
Yes.
come and see you. So
You
that movement is part of it.
do.
The last one is I've got to help somebody every day. It might be a little thing, it might be a big thing, it doesn't matter. But that is the thing that lights me up the most. If I have,
And
in some way, shape, or form, left a person, place, or thing better than I found it, then my day's complete, no matter what else happens.
yes, you're stealing all my questions before I even ask them. I'm like, this is just fun. I'm like, I yep, nope, not that. No, it's great. It's lovely to see because you are somebody that really uh, is so inspiring, obviously, but definitely walks the walk, and
Thank you.
that's incredibly inspiring. Like I said, my experience with you is when you're in the classroom and you inspire every single other person in there. Today was a perfect example, right? Like we were talking about the podcast and they all came in, they were like, April, that was so great. And it's all true. So there's that, but you never know whose life you're going to touch at any given time and how your paths cross or intersect. And this is just at Pilates, you know?
I know.
Yes, but so what is when it's difficult to get up, say you'll get up during the day. Yes, you've walked. Yes, you've done your gratitude.
Mhm,
And there's still this resistance.
mhm.
How do you self-motivate? How do you inspire others to motivate? What are some little key factors that you have in place to support that growth movement forward and that mindset forward?
So I guess it depends on what it is because I have different levels of resistance for different things.
Sure.
So
Yes.
I rarely ever have resistance to work because I love to work. I often have, and you'll find this interesting because you're such a great athlete. I often have resistance to if I'm going to do a really, really hard lifting workout, like I won't want to go do it because even though I'll be so glad to have done it, I'm very intimidated by it. And so my motivation then is I reframe for myself. You don't have to do that workout, April, but you get to do that workout. How would you
That's
feel if you couldn't do that? And that is how I then get myself in there to do it. And I also have to place things for me ahead of things for clients, which sounds kind of in the reverse because I will always find extra energy to help a client. It's like I have a
yes, you
reserve
do.
in my
Yes.
left foot or something. Like I don't know what it is, but I am never too tired for that. But I do find sometimes I can be too tired to do things for me. And if we
Yes.
don't take care of ourselves first, we're not as good for everyone else. So for me,
Very
it's
true.
those two things. It's one, reminding myself I get to do hard things, and that's how I know I can do anything in the world I want to do. And two, that pouring into me and doing things for myself gives me all these dividends and helps me do the things that matter the most.
That's exactly it. And I think that's such a great, that's again so inspiring and it's needed because there's so many people that they come into the practice into Pilates and they're just like, oh, I'm gonna be here. And I'm like, but you get to be here. Like that's really, and you're gonna feel, yes, walking in does not always feel great, but you're gonna meet yourself wherever you are at that day. And then you get
Always
to
feel
go,
better when you leave. Always.
absolutely, right? Absolutely. Sing that praise all day long. But it's hard to get there for people. And everybody brings their own, I don't want to say baggage because it's not that, but their own lives in with them, right?
Suitcases? You want to say small attaches?
Luggage, all the above, but we're going to put that over here and we're going to get to work, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's something that Joseph Pilates definitely did was, yes, all these people are coming in. He did not get into that aspect of it. So you came in, you did your work, and you went back. You took your bags in with you, you brought the bags out, and then you went.
Yep.
So even when you come into the practice, um, on those days, what inspires you to remain focused in class? Because you're incredibly focused. And what inspires you to keep that rhythm, to keep that energy up within the practice, we'll say.
I think for me, and this may be true for so many people, that one of the things I love, and this is why I love classical Pilates, and when people try and get me to go to other kinds of Pilates, I'm like, nah, because there is something about the rhythm of it, the predictability of it, that almost brings me back to center. So
Yes,
it doesn't matter what I come in with, focusing on my breathing, because you know me, it took me a long time to do Pilates and breathe instead of like just hold my breath. But the breathing and the doing the movements, it can almost be meditative, and the focus
yes,
is easy for me because, like I said, it is my happy place. It brings me
it
back
really
to
is.
myself. And I never expected that from Pilates. And I find that to be such an unexpected, incredible gift.
Yes. And again, to your point, you come in and it's so inspiring to everybody else to see you there and just to be a part of that energy. And that is what this is what keeps the world going round, right? Like even on our hardest day, you just show up. And that I think is so much of the battle and to meet ourselves every day wherever we are at. And
Yes.
back to the breath work, how does the breath work or how does a breath work, I guess, people's breathing
Mhm.
tells us so much about who they are. And does that aspect show up in your own work?
You know,
Not
it's
in your
interesting.
personal practice, in your business, I should say. Thanks.
You know,
Sorry.
it's interesting. I don't think I've ever paid attention to it, but
Mm,
now thinking back through all the things I've learned through Pilates about the way we breathe, I am positive that every person who's ever come to work with me on their business braces constantly and breathes shallow. I know that now. Without,
you
you know what I
do.
mean? Like they up in their chest and not fully into their body. And that makes so much sense because it's a
Yes.
symptom of a lot of other things that I can easily see. But it would be really funny if I got a new client and I'm like, just breathe for me for a minute. Okay, I know what's going on.
You're like, wait a second, let me hear. Okay, go. Okay, now I know.
They're bracing for bad things to happen. I can hear it.
You're right. Yes, nice. Brace for impact, right? Like totally. And that's one thing. Like it's funny that you said you don't pay attention to that, but I'm like, April, you do because again, I've seen it. I've been able to see that if somebody's next to you, and again, sometimes these spaces are hard for people to enter into, and you go out of your way to make people feel comfortable. And I think that is such a rare gift that because you've already observed it and they haven't, this is why I'm asking, they haven't moved. They've just been there. So you're sharing a space with somebody, all your experience is sharing with them in that moment is their breath. So whether it be shallow, so for you to say that you hadn't noticed it before, you subconsciously,
I was saying,
definitely,
yeah, it's got to be an
unconsciously
unconscious
know it
thing. Yeah,
for
I love that.
sure,
I love
for
that. You know, I
sure.
learned something from you every time I
Yay!
talk to you.
You just really do, and you're able to really be there in that moment, and then all of a sudden you've like turned to them and said something, and you see the energy of that person change. And that's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to see, especially as an instructor, to step back. And sometimes there's so many different personalities that we have in a space. And sometimes they don't always mesh, right? But we still keep it going. But you are somebody that's always able to, they're meshing, whether they want to or not. Let's put it that way. But again, with kindness and compassion, you're meeting people where they are at. And yeah, that's really something that's lovely to see as well. So your work, even when you're not working, you're working
I love that.
because
I
it's
think you're the same way because you'll have someone walking in front of you and you'll be like, you know, we probably want to stretch you on that right side. That's not really supposed to be like that. And I think when you love what you do and you care about people, you can't help but want to help any and every person you interact
right. Even the unsolicited
with.
that's something we talk about, and it's like, yeah. And then but the person's like, wait, what did you pardon? And then you're like, oh, sorry, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna keep that inside, right? But it's only out of goodness that we try to do that, right? And that's
Absolutely.
something that's incredibly inspiring. And yeah, it's wonderful to have you be there and be a part of your growth in every and any aspect.
Well,
It's
thank
really
you.
wonderful.
It's
Yeah, you create such a great space for people. let's do some rapid fire questions. Which is so weird because when I was going through them, I'm like, I know so many of these things.
That's
I
so
already
fun.
kind of know the answer. Right, right, right. So morning person or night owl?
Morning.
Like early morning? How early?
6.
Yeah, that's
Say
it.
like, let's go. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Get and you're excited about it. Like you
Yeah.
seem very excited about, right. That's a wonderful thing. One book that everybody should read.
Oh, wow. My book.
Obviously.
No, no. The reason why is because Magic Blue Rocks teaches people how to believe in themselves.
Yes.
And if you believe in yourself, you can do absolutely everything else. Now, aside from that, there are lots of books I love. One of my favorites is The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Waddles.
Interesting, interesting. Now back to your book for a second. Go ahead. But talk it up, April, because they can get it.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing. I wrote this book because someone told me you need to tell your story so other people know they can do it. And
Yes.
I have been just really bowled over by the amount of people who've said, you helped me understand that I can do the thing that I wanted to do. And there's 6 short stories in there, and they just help you cultivate self-belief. And if you're someone who hasn't been told how freaking amazing you are, and that you're actually a rock star and you can do anything that you want to do, otherwise you wouldn't want to do it, read these 6 short stories and you'll understand how you can do it and why it's completely possible for you. And I think that knowing that makes everyone unstoppable. And you can get it in any
Yes.
library. You don't have to buy it.
We're buying it. Everybody's buying it. And oh, listen, it's Magic Blue Rocks.
Yes, the
The
secret to doing
secret
anything.
to doing, and I totally believe that. Anything, yes. And back to that for a second. When you have people like that is your message, when you have people that you're trying to get that across to, and you still see that there's blocks, how do you break down those barriers, or how do you invite them? Not even breaking them down. Let's go back. How do you invite them into maybe observing that that might be a blockage, the way that they're thinking?
So I usually get them to tell me, why can't you? Right? Because most
Yes,
people, they have a reason why they can't. And then
sure
I
do.
take them through a short exercise and I say, hey, can you remember the first time that you felt that way, the first time that you thought that? And it usually takes them back to when they were a kid and who told you that? And did what they told you, it may have been true then, but is it true now? And most people are
Mm,
shocked because they're like, oh gosh, wait, it isn't. And if they
right.
say it is still true, I say, okay, is that a truth or a rule? And
Yes.
normally they say it's a rule. And I'm like, was the rule created for you to make you better or for someone else to make their life easier? And
And
usually they're like, oh my gosh. It doesn't take away the fear, but it does take
no, no.
away.
That and right. And just some acknowledgement and realization can be the exact same thing that changes that for somebody,
Hmm.
that unlocks a certain part of their brain
Hmm.
that makes them unstoppable. And
Yes.
do you really believe, I don't mean to set it up like that.
No.
How can I say? I'm going to say it like that. Do you really believe that everybody has limitless potential?
For
That,
them, yes, but your
yes,
limitless and my limitless are different, right?
right,
And that's
right,
why I
sure.
say you wouldn't want to do it if you couldn't do it. I have never, or if you couldn't, you wouldn't want to, right? I have never in my
That's
life
right.
wanted to do a triathlon, Dale, never, right? So that may not be in my wheelhouse, but you want and do them. I've never wanted to be an astronaut. But I, at 6 years old, when I was surrounded by people who had never even graduated high school, said, I'm going to be a news anchor and I'm going to do it in front of millions of people. And they're like, you're crazy. No, I wasn't, because we only want things that are possible for ourselves.
That's beautiful. That is really truly beautiful. And I missed a question. I just saw it and I was like, oh, where is it? As a certified hypnotist, okay. All right, we're going to talk about that after. I got some things to go through. And NLP practitioner, what fascinates you most about the brains and that and how the brain functions and the habits that it can form?
So I think the thing that I love the most about the brain is the neuroplasticity. right? We can learn new things. We can change our habits. We can become totally different people, all by thinking differently.
Isn't that
And
crazy?
it's really interesting because I got both of those certifications, not for that to be the only thing I did in life, but so I could better understand how to help people and how powerful our mind is and how all of
Mm,
the answers are actually within us. We're all looking
crazy.
outside of us for them, but that's not where they are. And learning those things helped me learn how to access that inner knowing that we all have that will lead
Mm.
us to everything we want.
That's it. It's just like that.
Yeah. It's so, here's the thing, simple doesn't mean easy, right?
No.
Like when you think about it,
Yes.
taking this all the way back to Pilates, some of the most simple movements we do are the hardest. They're simple,
Yes.
but executing them isn't easy, but it's worth it.
Yes. Like pinky toe on the bar.
Oh, get to the party.
Always, always. That's awesome. The best advice you've ever, this is a two-part for me.
Okay.
Best advice you've ever received,
Mhm.
best advice you've ever given.
Best advice
Ooh.
I've ever received. So probably where mindset started, the woman
Oh.
Aunt Sue, I write about her in my book, who helped me when my mom went to rehab and reframed a very scary thing and said, I know that this is very scary for you, but your mom is doing something very brave. I just want you to know that your life is about to get so much better. And that may not sound like advice, but what she did was show me that something that I would have thought was a negative was actually going to work out for me. And me looking at things that way started that young. And it was the best thing anyone could have ever done. And what's interesting is it wasn't advice, it was modeling. And I actually think what we
Mm,
model to people is so much more powerful than what we tell them.
for sure.
And so for that, I'll do both my advice and what I model to people. There is nothing you could do better than love yourself. If you can
Love
find
that.
a way to love yourself just as you are, not when you make more money, not when your hair looks better, not when you're stronger, thinner, faster, whatever, but right now, you will become a better version of yourself just because you're loved by you.
I love that. April. That's a t-shirt. You have to.
A very long t-shirt, but
We'll condense it. I mean, it can go front and back. It's
there you
fine.
go. There you go.
Right? Totally, totally. And where one belief you completely changed your mind about. Ooh, that's geez, eh?
I used to
Going
think
in hot.
vulnerability was weakness.
That's
And
right.
now I think vulnerability is the biggest strength that you have as a person to connect with another person.
Yes, I couldn't agree more on that. And it shows up in the body anyway. Those of
Hmm.
us that are practitioners, we see it in the practice. Yeah, it shows up so much. And that's something in your business as well that you have to, there's tremendous responsibility with that that comes for, in my case, people on the equipment, on the apparatus, but in your case, people that are in this space with you,
Hmm. Yeah, being
right?
vulnerable is where people grow. And the best way I can help someone learn to be vulnerable is by me being vulnerable myself and letting people know
Yes, I,
that what they're struggling with, I've struggled with. You do it with me
yes.
when we do one-on-ones, right? You're like, oh, yeah, I remember when this was very difficult. I remember when I learned this. And what we don't realize is in so many
Yeah,
cases, vulnerability gives people hope. Oh, well, if this person thought that this wasn't easy, then it's okay that I think it isn't easy. I'm going to get there too. And that's
that's right. That's
beautiful.
right. Yeah, that and it's all part of it, right? It's about sharing our own experience, so people don't feel that they're everything that they've usually felt or feel in that moment. As instructors, I hope I can only speak for myself, but I have definitely felt that way a million times, right?
Absolutely.
And then we just have to go through that. One daily habit you can never give up.
Gratitude. Not
Yes.
like if I don't take the time to appreciate what I already have, I don't know why I'd be here anymore. That would be when I'd punch.
Yeah. That's when sparring practice would come back out,
No,
right?
no, no, punch out. Like if I'm not
Oh,
grateful every day, then I'm done. Like I'm
you're
ready to
just
go. Beam
click.
me up.
Yes, yes, yes. That's understandable though. That's good. Yeah, but you are definitely one of the most grateful people that I've met, even
Yeah.
in a situation, just daily life. I have not ever seen you not be positive,
Well, thank you.
and it's truly inspiring for sure.
There are days I
Coffee?
get mad. Like,
Of
don't let it fool
course.
people. But
Oh
in the
no.
end, I'm like, thank you for pissing me off so I know I can change this.
Get me going. Motivate me, get me going. That's it, right? I mean, it's true. Those are gifts as well, right?
Absolutely.
For sure. And coffee or tea? We all know the answer to that.
Coffee.
That's it. Absolutely it. And what brings you joy currently, other than
Oh,
cowboy?
see, that's where I was going.
Cowboy is the Shih
Yes,
Tzu.
my amazing dog. You know what gives me joy? I
Yes,
am like I've been doing this experiment for the past couple years of living like a 5-year-old with a bank account. And like
we
that's
love
my
this.
approach in
Yes,
life. Like if someone gave
please.
me a ton of money when I was 5, how would I have lived life? And that's what I want to do, right? Because you think about it, and a ton of money when you're 5 could be like $20, but like
For sure.
go live
Gumballs.
life like a kid who has the money and the time and the resources to do whatever in the heck they want. That brings me so
Yes,
much joy. And it's so cute how often the thing that the kid would do with the money is share it with someone or make someone else's
always.
day better. So that brings me a ton of joy.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't want to say in closing because we can have this go on all day.
Poor
Like, first of
people
all,
listening to all this.
when I first met you, I was like, oh my gosh, who is this? And I have to know her because I was like, somebody
I
that
felt the
matches my
same way.
energy. This is amazing, right? Like we're up here 24/7,
Yes.
which is wonderful. But if every listener, every person that was listening to this conversation, if you could give them one piece of wisdom or one message that they received from you, what would it be?
That I believe in you. And if you don't believe in you
Oh,
right now, borrow my belief because I know you can do it. And I haven't been wrong yet about a person I've believed in.
love that. And you've worked with a lot of people.
Yes.
Nobody has proved you wrong yet. That's wonderful. That's really wonderful. And so, finally, in closing, where can everybody connect with you? Uh,
Yeah,
we
100%.
can,
So
well,
I'm on social media and I am the
yes,
only April Sprints. My last name is a doozy to spell, but if you find me
it's
on LinkedIn,
fun.
Instagram, Facebook, that's me. And I still do all that myself, which I know not everybody does anymore. But if you want to reach
Yes,
me, you can. And my website is drivenoutcomes.com. You can access my podcast there and also some free resources that can help you.
April, it's always a pleasure. You light up every room you enter, and you have have changed the world and continue to change the world. And you are such a blessing and a gift to the entire world. So thank you for all you do, and thank you for showing up every single day for others.
Oh,
It
thank you
makes a
so much for
difference.
having me. Thank you.